Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States. What does this mean for Ukraine? What does it mean for NATO? What does it mean for Germany and Europe? I will be talking to Ben Hodges. He is a retired US Army officer and served as a general in Europe. Ben, what was the first thing which came to your mind when you learned that Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States?
I think probably two or three different things came to mind immediately. First, obviously, disappointment, because I really felt going into last night that Kamala Harris was going to win. I knew it would be close, but I really felt optimistic about her and also about my country, that we were going to pull back from the abyss. You know, I really thought that. But the other thing that emotion was, I felt foolish that I had so grossly underestimated how many people in my country would embrace him, knowing completely who and what he is. I mean, nobody's confused about who and what he is, yet more Americans prefer that than the alternative. So I feel foolish that I so grossly underestimated that.
Ben, we have to talk about Ukraine, of course. What does this mean? What does it mean that Donald Trump will be moving back into the White House for Ukraine?
Well, of course, you know, my assumption based on how he's acted and talked about Ukraine when he was in office and in the 4 years since then, and also how he dealt with Russia, I'm not encouraged. I don't see a positive development there for Ukraine, at least initially. Now, to be fair, the Biden administration wasted, I think, the last several years when we could have had a much stronger, more decisive policy, could have solved the Russia problem for Europe for decades. Instead, we didn't. They took an approach that was appeasement and only prolonged the conflict, and here we are. So perhaps European leaders that will be able to put enough influence on Trump to explain that it's in America's interest, that America not turn their back on Ukraine. It's in America's economic interest. And then also, of course, enough European countries will increase their own defense spending and investment and other things that might be appealing to Donald Trump. But European countries should not do that to appease Donald Trump. They should be doing that for their own people. Because if Ukraine fails, it will be because the United States and Germany turn their back on Ukraine. And then you're going to see millions of Ukrainian refugees coming to Germany. You're going to see continued disruption of food and energy supplies. And you're going to see tens of thousands of Ukrainian soldiers absorbed into the Russian army. So there's no positive outcome to any kind of negotiated settlement or to the United States turning its back. So this is going to be a real test for Europe.
Trump said that he would end the war in Ukraine within 1 day, maybe even before he comes to office. I mean, of course, the thinking behind that, or the fear for many, is that he would kind of offer a deal to Putin to say, you keep Crimea, maybe the Donbass. Do you think this might happen?
Well, that sort of scenario certainly sounds like something he would do. I mean, to get the deal. That's exactly what he did with the Taliban. You know, I mean, he made a deal with the Taliban without informing the Afghan government or our allies that were there with us in Afghanistan for all those years. And so I think that's exactly the kind of thing he is capable of doing when it comes to Ukraine. The difference is, first of all, I don't think the Ukrainians will go along with it. I mean, you know, they're not just going to do whatever the American president and the Russian president say. Secondly, I think that several European countries also will not just stand by and accept that kind of an outcome because they understand what it means. So I am hoping that enough serious European leaders will be able to influence the president, the new president. And also, by the way, there's always been a lot of support in the Congress for Ukraine from the Republican side. People like Lindsey Graham or Chairman Mike Turner, I mean, these are very senior, influential Republicans who care about the transatlantic relationship. And so I'm not so sure that they'll just sit on their hands and allow Trump to walk away from it. I don't envision it being better, but it may not be as terrible as we fear.
There were already reactions, like from the German member of parliament Röttgen, who said in case Donald Trump kind of would stop supporting Ukraine, then Germany would need to jump in. Is this even feasible that Germany or other European countries really would replace the support the US is offering right now?
Well, of course, Germany looks like it may be forming a new government here, new elections very soon. And I've heard Friedrich Merz speak very clearly about his views about Ukraine and Russia. So if it comes down to political will, the current coalition does not have it, but maybe a new coalition would. I'm not sure about UK. I think Italy, yes. France, at times. I mean, Poland, no question. Finland, no question. So it might be a group of countries working together that could help fill some of the gap that the U.S. might leave behind. And frankly, I can envision President Trump telling European leaders, "Hey, you need to fix this. This is your thing, or else we're out of here." Now, I hope that's not the case, but I can envision that sort of a conversation with Trump even saying we'll continue to provide nuclear protection and blah blah blah. But if you add together the industrial capacity of just the EU countries, forget UK, forget Canada, just the EU countries, it's enormous. It dwarfs Russia's economic potential and current capabilities. So to me, this is about political will, not Europe can't do it.
And do you see the possibility that under a new German government the will might be stronger?
Absolutely. Completely.
Vladimir Zelensky reached out to Trump immediately. Do you think it's the right approach to praise the commitment to peace through strength?
Well, I think anybody who has paid attention to history knows that the only way you can be sure and have a sustained peace is if you are strong enough to defend that peace, to ensure it. I thought President Zelensky was smart to immediately reach out to President Trump. You know, they've been down this road before together, so it's not like they're just meeting each other. When Zelensky was in office and Trump was the president, so it's not like they don't know each other. I think that the Ukrainians are fighting for their life. And so when you're fighting for your life, you're willing to reach out to anybody that might be able to help keep you alive. And so certainly it would not have been wise to publicly come out and say, oh, I wish it was still Biden, or I wish it was going to be Harris. And frankly, as I said earlier, I think most Ukrainians feel let down by the Biden administration anyway.
And then there's, of course, NATO. Ben, Donald Trump has threatened to leave the alliance a couple of times. Is he really able to do that?
I believe that legally he cannot just unilaterally pull out. But there is no law that requires him to do anything. So he could continue to be disruptive or to ignore or not lead inside the alliance the way that the United States has done in the past. And frankly, it was always to our advantage to be a leader inside the alliance. And hopefully there will be enough people in the Congress that are Republicans that will impress on him. Hey, yes, of course, the other countries should be doing more, but here's why it's good for America to be in this club where you've got all these friends. And by the way, at least half of them are spending enough on defense and are always good to go with us to do things. So from a practical standpoint, I think that he will not just completely turn his back on NATO. But this will be a challenge for Secretary General Rutte, who will have to do what Jens Stoltenberg did, which is figure out how to keep the alliance together and dealing with President Trump. I think Mark Rutte probably has the political talent and the leadership talent to be able to do that. But half of these problems that you and I are talking about, Ines, were made in Europe, with countries not, I mean, they created this problem that Trump seized on, and that many Americans, even those who love Germany, who love Ukraine, who love NATO, are frustrated about. And so this is something from Europeans to fix.
Donald Trump's party, the Republicans, that didn't only win the White House, but also both chambers, right? Congress and the House, or the Senate and the House. And the Supreme Court, of course, is also kind of somewhat Trump-friendly. How worried, Ben, are you about Trump's government and the people he wants to appoint? With the backing of the Senate, he's able to basically pick whoever he wants.
So there's a couple things here. First, yes, for sure, the Republicans will control the Senate, and that's who does the confirmations for judges, ambassadors, generals, and admirals. So that is a powerful place, and that's who also ratifies treaties. I think that he will be able to get, by and large, mostly who he wants, although in the Senate, the rules are that individual senators can block nominations, even if they're on the minority side. So it's not going to be a total blank check, which tells me that Trump will probably end up using a lot of unconfirmed acting people at different levels, which inherently is a weaker position, obviously, than if someone who's been confirmed. But they did that the last time he was in office as well. So we'll see how that plays out. The court, this is a problem. For me, the Supreme Court was always the ultimate guardrail. And only in the last couple of years did I come to lose confidence in the court as an impartial, really blind justice focused on the Constitution. Of course, there's always been differences, and you've had every administration tries to nominate people that they think are more philosophically aligned. I've never seen it where it was like this. And that does worry me. And of course, if he's got 4 more years, I would say chances are he'll get at least one more court nominee, whether it's Alito or Thomas. I would imagine at least one more of those. And that will have an impact for the next 20, 30 years.
So, Ben, finally, how did we get there? How did it happen that Donald Trump was reelected?
Well, of course, when you're talking about 80 million people, there will be several different motivations. There's a part of it is people that are evangelicals would vote for anybody if they thought that that person would, stop abortion or things like that. There are a portion of that 80 million that care only about their taxes and investment portfolio. So they could hold their nose. They would say his stupid policies or his vulgar manner, that won't affect me. What I care about is my portfolio. And so I think a lot of his supporters, obviously at the high end, are in that category. By the way, I've met a lot of Germans that felt the same way, that also supported Trump for their own portfolio reasons. And then there's a category of people that I think really support or can embrace this vulgar character, because then it sort of frees them up to behave the same way, whether it's how they treat women, their racism. These things are now out in the open in a way that I have not seen, and I'm 66 years old. I've seen open racism that I haven't seen since I was a young man. And, the treatment of women, and surprisingly how many women are okay with it. I mean, that blows me away. So I can't, there's not one explanation. I thought Kamala Harris was an excellent candidate. She did well in every facet, especially given the fact that she only had 3 or 4 months to do it. But we could not overcome the built-in racism and misogyny and the selfishness and the willingness of a lot of Americans who I think it's not about education. I mean, there are a lot of people I know that are very well educated that endorse Trump completely. It's more about they don't care or they don't value the Constitution and our democracy, what it truly means.
Ben, thank you very much, and I'm sure we will be talking again soon, and really I appreciate your time.
Well, I always enjoy speaking with you, and thank you for the privilege.